All right. Beautiful day in paradise, everybody. Get ready for your turkey. Hope you had good turkey. Hope it didn't turn out like Clark Griswold. Feels like that's how the real estate market is. You're going to break it open and you don't know what you're going to get. All right. All right, we ready? Good? Yes, I think so. We good, T?
I'm good.
Good, everybody. All right. Turn this up hot. Here we go. Coming in. We're good. Good to see everybody.
In 3, 2, and 1.
Hey, folks, welcome back to Your Frederick Real Estate Update. I am Darren Ahern with RE/MAX Results, bringing you now over 22 years experience in the Maryland and PA region. And on this Thanksgiving weekend holiday, I have with me the man, the myth, legend from Presidential Bank Mortgage, who makes the perfect turkey, Mr.
Terry Kernan.
I heard you make the best turkey ever.
I think I had an incredible turkey. We, for 21 years now, we've done luncheon the Thursday before Thanksgiving, and I always cook the turkey, and this year's was exceptional.
As always, you always have the best, right? Do you ever do the fry thing where you like dip it and fry it out, or do you baste it, or do you slow cook it, or what's your secret to your success?
So what I do is I cook it in the oven.
Okay.
And we have a regular oven, but it's also got a convection feature and an air fry feature.
Oh.
So a normal turkey takes, a 22-pound turkey takes 4 to 5 hours, depending on how at 350. So what I do is I cook it on the conventional convection oven, and it takes about 3.5 hours. So it speeds up the process, but it just comes out so juicy, and you know it's awesome.
Terry's so good at that. Yeah. I want to have a piece one day. I thought for a minute there you're going to say you're cooking it in the conventional loan oven as a lender. I mean, come on, that's what does it.
That's what's on my mind.
He's putting some good stuff in it. All right, we're going to get right into it. Hope you guys had a wonderful weekend, Thanksgiving here, and enjoying it with their family, friends, loved ones, and all that good stuff. So no numbers, Terry. We're not doing numbers. Too early in the game for that. Everybody kind of is like, we kind of know what numbers. Don't give us any numbers until inventory is going sky high and something bigger and significant changes and all that. Not that we ever get any criticism, but we're going to get into meat and bones of the turkey of this thing right here. We're going to gnaw on that, and we're going to get a wishbone out of all this in the mortgage world first. So you got the bigger half of the wishbone. Go ahead. What's happening in the mortgage world?
So rates, we're hoping, are going to start coming down a little bit, okay? Stop going up is the key. Remember, I always say I can sell stability. It's very hard to sell volatility. So what we're taking a look at is, let's talk about a couple things that happened. The big news was Scott Bessent was chosen by Trump as his Treasury Secretary. What did we see happen? We saw the market go way up. The interest rates bumped up a little bit because people took their money out of the bonds and they were putting it into the stock market as quick as they could. And we saw the stock market way up. What does that mean? That means that the markets were very happy with the choice. Who is Scott Bessent?
Yeah, who is this man with the money?
Bessent is
Scott
I don't
Bessent.
know. But he's a 62-year-old funds manager.
Okay.
And by all indications, Trump made a pick that the markets feel very comfortable with. Big businesses, CEOs, the business world is extremely happy that he is going to be the Treasury Secretary. The other things that happened is retail sales came out on Wednesday. What happened with retail sales? Up 0.4% for the month of October.
Wow.
Okay. That's a big number. That's what the market was expecting, though. But what that is doing is that is kind of doing a couple of things. Spending is up. Retail sales are up. Okay. Also, what's up is income. So income has gone up 0.6%. Okay. So what we're seeing is we're seeing a strong economy. And what you're going to hear more and more of is that the jobs market is low hire, low fire. So there's not a lot of jobs being created.
Right.
And one of the reasons for that is in the spring of 2022, for every 2 jobs that were available, there was 1 unemployed person. So we could not fill
Wow.
the jobs that were available. In today's market, okay, this is the lowest it's been since 2022. For every one job that is open, there is one person that's unemployed.
Oh, it's matched.
So it's touch over one, but basically it's dropped tremendously. So we're in a market that the economists feel good that we're going to be pushing forward into 2025 with a strong economy. It doesn't look like we're going to hit a recession. It looks like the unemployment is kind of going to hover around 4.1%, 4.2%, which is totally fine. Jobs will slow down, hiring will slow down, but also firing will slow down.
Okay.
Stability is good. Stability we can sell, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's kind of what we're taking a look at.
All righty. And then you can share with us when you have a minute here, if you thought about it, what are a tip, something about with mortgages that you're seeing with buyers? What question are they asking the most right now? I know, Terry, the concerns, buyers and sellers are both starting to look and think about 2025. Buyers have realized this. I love it, that rates are just not going to come down to 3, 4, or even 5%.
Yes. So one of the things that and we're going to talk about that today, but I've got people that are interested in getting ready, like you said, sell their house.
Yep.
What is that impact going to be? Do they get to keep all their money? The amount of people out there that feel that when they sell their primary residence, investment property is totally different. When they sell their primary residence, how much of that can they keep and how much is it going to be taken away by Uncle Sam?
Yep.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but I've had that question come up. So when we talked this morning about the show, I was like, wow, that's perfect for what
we're dealing with this, aren't we?
But the main thing that I'm seeing is people are starting to realize that the rates aren't going to come down. So to wait and sit on the sidelines, I think we're going to have a pretty good 2025.
Yeah.
I think the rates may come down gradually, but I think it's going to be a very strong market. I don't think it'll be as crazy as it was 2 years ago.
No.
When inventory was down to 100 and
that was nuts.
Resales and so I don't see that happening. But that's pretty much people are getting ready to accept the fact that 6% is going to be a rate that they can live with.
Yeah, and that's what I'd like to see. Obviously, the buyers, if we could just stay at 6, get it down, trickle it down little by little down to 6, that would just bring more balance and stability, like you said, just really good and stop the volatility, which it seems like that's kind of happened and everything, but I'm definitely getting a lot more sellers geared up. I have a couple now, they're like, hey, should we wait? Should we wait spring? What do you think the spring's going to be like and all that? And I said, there's no telling, but we'll have definitely more buyer demand. I don't think it's going to kill you to wait at all. I don't think rates are going to go so high where it takes buyers off the sidelines, and we're not seeing prices dropping like crazy. So it's not like, yeah, let's get a stick in the front yard now with my, my Remax sign, and we need to get this puppy under contract in a week or two. You got to do whatever it takes. We don't have that going on either, right? There's none of that. So on both sides of the equations, it's been pretty healthy, but the biggest thing is that reality is kind of set in a lot of regards. And the other good part is a lot of sellers are realizing that values are not going up. So they're not like crazy like we saw by any stretch. So therefore, they're starting to accept the fact that, like, okay, we're happy with plateauing. We're really happy things aren't dropping off real bad. And this is a good thing. And the market's at 40, 50 days, depending on where you're at, and the average time on selling, which is still very good overall in general. So it's been really, really good in that regard. So, but this kind of is, what we had talked about capital gains we're going to get into now. And we're going to get into what are the biggest, craziest, surprising things that a buyer and seller must know, especially buyers or sellers too, when selling a home, and some of the things that are involved in all that. You had mentioned something just a minute ago about the thing. I just had a settlement, Terry, and you did the loan. Thank God for my buyers and did a great job. But the seller side of it, they've been in the home and we never ask questions. We don't know if they refinanced or I don't know any of that stuff. We're not allowed to really know the details. But the seller walked out on a $528,000 home. The seller walked out with $1,600 selling their home.
Wow.
Exactly. We're used to what? $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 walking out with to buy another place or to do whatever. Go rent, go travel, pay off your credit card debts, pay off your car, go buy a brand new car. Who cares? all of a sudden now I'm starting to hear this from other agents that they're now, I have another one, a sale coming up, a sell in a house where the seller went and bought a new home, and them selling, they're literally going to walk out almost breaking even or bringing $1,000 to sell their home. So this is something that, we're starting to see people with second mortgages, and the grants, as you know, some of that is partially forgiven. And so some of that needs to be paid back, maybe depending on what kind it is and everything. So we're starting to see territory and waters, Terry, we haven't seen in like 4 or 5 years, where we actually take a look at the net sheet and we go, oh no, oh boy. Oh my, this is getting razor thin. Like, you can do one price reduction, but you can't give closing cost help, and you can't give this or can't give that. And we're back to some of that. And now that's not the norm. Thank God. That's not the overarching market, but we're starting to see it happen. And we didn't see this 3-4 years ago if our life depended on it. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
So it brings up something that just happened within the last month. Is I was talking to a settlement attorney, and they said that here's what happened: people selling their house, they had an open line of credit on the way to settlement.
Oh no!
They stopped in at the bank.
Oh no!
And drew down $35,000 on the line of credit.
You can't do that.
You can't do that.
Feel like we're at the sports game in basketball and football.
And they thought they were the slickest people in the world.
Pulled a fast one, baby.
Pulled a fast one. Got away with it. Did they get away with it? No. That's can get you into some deep hot water.
Yeah.
It's not allowed.
Yeah.
And they're going to come after you, and they're going to make sure that you pay for it, and they're not going to accept I didn't know I was doing anything wrong.
Sounds like the IRS.
For the answer.
Wow.
Okay? So that did come up. And what triggered it was when you said that they were getting no money back. Well, these people got $35,000 extra back at the settlement table.
So crazy, surprising subjects we're on. There's one of them right there. If you're a seller and you have a home line of credit, don't be writing checks, drafting money, going to the bank, having Uncle Bob help you launder or fake get money, do whatever. You can't do that. Yeah, that's illegal. So you can't do that. And so when the title attorney asks you at settlement, have you taken out any additional loans since, before this settlement right now, you got to be honest, okay? And that's what's coming. They need to know your good faith affidavit, and everybody needs to know this, that you have that 1 or 2 loans, and here are the ones that have been discovered, which, by the way, they do get discovered by the title company. That's their job. So that they know down to the day with your payoff what that's going to be. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So that didn't go well for the seller.
No, that's not a fun thing. It's like, honey, that vacation we just booked and the car we were buying and all the other fun stuff, take it back.
Well, it's not like they weren't getting money back at the settlement table, but they wanted to sneak that extra $35,000 in because, and
I had somebody ask me one time, Terry, a seller, that I heard a rumor that I don't have to pay it back at settlement, that the second line of credit I can take with me and just keep paying on that after I've sold my house. I'm like, what? No, the banks, they want their money in that account settled, closed, and done. You don't get to keep that as a personal loan now at this point.
Yes. Once you give up title to a property,
yep,
you were saying goodbye to
everything,
all the liens, everything. Yeah. The property is no longer yours. You just can't do it. But you'd be amazed.
Yeah, yeah. All right, which gets us into the second part of the crazy, surprising, wild stuff that sellers and buyers need to know that are rare. These, by the way, we're talking about rare stuff. Capital gains tax. Who loves taxes? I personally feel that this should be abolished, capital gains on selling properties and all that, because it practically penalizes people who have saved, bought, invested, took the risk and the gamble. So when you buy a home, you get you do get some tax breaks and things, but here are the rules. And Terry, I'll need your help with some of this stuff. To be exempt from capital gains, you must, one of the questions at settlement the sellers get is, have you lived in this home as your primary residence 2 out of the last 5 years?
And if you can answer yes,
That's litmus test
good.
number one. That's a good one. So I literally have had sellers that I've helped buy a house, they live in it, fix it up, and a year later they want to sell it, and I'm like, whoa, time out, not so fast there, guys. Like, wait a minute. And it has to be by the day of settlement. So I would say, Terry, if you've lived in the house 1 year in 10 months, fine, we'll put your house on the market. And as long as we choose a settlement date that is 1 day after living in it for 2 years as a primary residence, you pass that question litmus test of settlement. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
Yeah, but there's people, Terry, that I've heard literally that have literally settled like 1 week or 2 weeks or a month before the 2-year anniversary living in the house. And then they get this neat little thing that says, oh, we have to withhold gains on, like, what'd you buy it for? What are you selling it for? What's the difference? And you're going to get clobbered with capital gains on that to whatever bracket and all that stuff. And the state tax, as we know, is 8.25 for the state of Maryland. That can be escrowed and withheld and everything. And then all of a sudden they're like, whoa, wait a second here. Why am I paying on all that? And it's because these are the IRS rules about capital gains. So that's one of them. What's another one here? We had said, did I mention I'm against capital gains if you've taken the risk and all that? Like, who created all this? So it's a lot of money, by the way, that gets paid out and all these rules and stuff like that. So next is you have, if you're moving out of state, you've packed your bags, you're leaving the People's Republic of Maryland and you're heading across state lines, you change out your license and you're living there and everything's great. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I think we'll sell our house back in Maryland now. Yeah, we're settled. We're good. All of a sudden they call me. We're selling their home. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Where do you live? Oh, out of state. You might want to talk to your tax attorney and look up the laws and get some professional advice on taxes because you may actually have to now pay capital gains. And they're like, what are you talking about? I've lived in my house. All I did is just come across the state lines. What's the problem here? What do you think about that one?
So that's very, very prevalent. So let's take an example. Somebody lives here in Maryland. They move to Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And they're going to retire to Pennsylvania. And they've been in this house for many years, and they go ahead and sell it. Okay.
But they've already moved. They've already gone to Pennsylvania. They already bought a place.
And then they took time to fix the house in Maryland.
Yeah.
But the Pennsylvania house is their new primary residence. What they're going to have to do is they're going to have to fill out a form with the state of Maryland, and it's going to exempt them from the 8% tax that Maryland withholds at the settlement table.
Yep.
Now, this form has to be filled out 21 days before settlement.
Note that. Jot that down.
21 days.
21 days.
So if it's filled out, and settlements in 10 days, then there's a good chance that the title company will not have the answer on how much to withhold from the state of Maryland.
Right.
So what you do is you fill this form out, you send it into the state of Maryland, and they approve it. So what Maryland says is that if you sell a home that is not your primary residence and you live out of state, we're going to tax you 8% on when you sell that home. So when you depart, but you can fill out an exemption form. You can also fill out the form that also allows you to just be taxed on what the profit is, not what you walk away with at the settlement table. What these title companies are required to do, my understanding, I could be wrong, but I believe that what the title companies are instructed to do is if they don't have the form filled out, if it's not approved by the state of Maryland, then they're going to withhold 8% of whatever is left because that's what the profit is. So that's a huge, huge number. If you walk away, if you sell a house for $360 and you bought it for $240 and you live in Pennsylvania and you bought it down at the beach, then there is no exemption there.
Oh.
You're going to be stuck with the 8%. So if you bought a house 15 years ago at $240, you're reselling it at $360, it's down on the beach, it was never your primary residence.
Right.
You never were a resident of Maryland. then
Wow.
you better think twice, or not think twice, but you better plan for
Yeah.
that 8% tax being withheld from the profit that you were making. Okay.
Yep.
That's huge. A lot of sellers don't know that. That is the most prevalent down at the beach, right?
Yeah. Second vacation type homes and things.
Second homes, vacation homes. It's also going to be very prevalent up in Deep Creek because that borders Pennsylvania, West Virginia. People from Pennsylvania buy something in Deep Creek, they go to sell, and they're going to owe 8% to the state of Maryland. So you got to be very, very, very conscientious.
Tax planning.
If it's your primary residence, okay, and if it was your primary residence for 4 out of the last 5 years, you can get that waived. You can get that exemption pretty easily.
Right.
But you have to do it. If you don't do it, there is no exemption.
No, you got to take action, and the title companies will help you with that.
Yes.
We'll point you in the right direction.
Yes, and your title company will be able to help you fill that form out and make sure that it gets done. But that is so, so, so very important.
Yep. It's a rare thing, but it gets to be crazy. And the last thing you want to do is be sitting at the settlement table as a real estate agent, seller, buyer, or anybody or lender and see the look on someone's face when the title company says, you didn't pass the litmus test questions. We're required to withhold 8%. And what? What are you talking? And all of a sudden it's $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, whatever. And they're like losing their minds. So yeah. And the other big thing too, capital gains, is if you got a seller and all of a sudden they're not walking away with almost any money, and now they're required to withhold money in escrow till they get their tax situation worked out. Now it becomes the big question of, well, there's no proceeds out of the sale of the property to hold in escrow. Where do they get the money from? Do they have to bring it in a personal loan? How does this work? Do they go, what do they do?
So let's say somebody, same scenario, lives in Pennsylvania, bought a house in Ocean City, paid $240 and then it's $360 as they're selling. The profit looks about $120,000, right?
Right.
But you're going to be able to subtract out the realtor commissions and so forth, other things. And I don't know all those things, but you can.
All your expenses. Yeah, whatever IRS rules are.
Then if you fix the house up to sell, and you can deduct all that, and it's going to be based off of that. But what about if you went and got a home equity loan
Yes.
and you drew that down for college expenses on your second home?
There you go.
They're still going to ask for their 8%, just to let you know.
Yeah.
They're not going to feel sorry that you drew everything down. So make sure that if you're in that situation, you're selling, make sure that you've got that 8%.
There's no free
covered.
Pass. It's not that I didn't know any different. No one told me.
Yeah.
And what's funny, Terry, is a lot of people, and you got to go to your tax person because we don't know your financial world, your brackets and your life and all that. That's not our business. But you'd be amazed how many consumers out there would look at the real estate agent and say, well, you never told me this. You didn't tell me this could happen and all that stuff. An inexperienced agent that's new, that is not around this stuff and hasn't experienced it, and you've not had the big eyes at the settlement table yet, that's when you start wondering if you could crawl into the table and get a second career. This is why experience matters, right?
Yes. So you, as Darren said, talk to a tax advisor.
Yep.
I'm going to give you information that I think is correct, that I believe. One thing that you want to make sure, and I get this question all the time, is I'm selling my house and I've got a bunch of profit. And the question always is, how much profit? So it's going to vary on where that capital gain starts with your primary house. Generally, I think it's the first $500,000 if you're married.
Yeah, that's what we're going to get to next.
Untaxed. Oh, okay. You're
the 500.
Okay,
but that's so. Yeah, if you're single, the threshold I think is $250,000.
Yeah.
And married is a $500,000 profit. Above that, whatever, and your profitability. But here's the thing I think about. Wait a minute. What if somebody's selling their house? They think they're getting like all this profit. They got you doing their loan. They're putting down XYZ out of that profit. And all of a sudden, they're not getting near as much. They may not even have enough for the down payment. How does that mess up someone's loan? Have you ever seen somebody that messes up their loan?
No, I haven't, because generally, if somebody has that much money, if they miss something, then there's always some sort of fallback, right? So if somebody's getting more than $500,000,
yeah,
in this area, the average loan is $400,000. So if somebody's getting more than $500,000 and they're going to be taxed on it, chances are it's not going to hurt the loan or put it in jeopardy because, let's say they have to, account for whatever the tax is. And they're like, okay, well, what you do is you just put less money down.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
Yeah.
In this area. Now, it could be different in, DC or where you get the $2 million homes. But really, I have never seen it make a difference or an issue.
That's good, because I just thought of that. I really did. I'm like, oh, I've never had that happen. But that would be a crazy thing, wouldn't it? All right, and another one is if you rent your home out, Terry. Ooh, if you rent it out, there's a good chance that's no longer going to be deemed as almost like a primary residence, maybe over whatever course of time and rules are, and you may have to pay taxes also. How's about that fun thing called estate taxes?
Yes.
Woo!
But let me say something.
Yeah, what about that? Yep.
Real quick before we move on to estate taxes. If you rent your house out,
yeah,
and you set up a Schedule E, that's going to show your rental income, your and all your expenses, and then you're going to get a loss or a gain
right
on whatever you rent it for. If you do Airbnb, that falls under the Schedule E. But if you fill out a Schedule E and then you try to say, well, this was my second home or primary home, and they see that there's a Schedule E on it, there's going to be some questions that you're going to have to answer.
There we go. Goes back to litmus test stuff. The IRS knows what questions to ask.
Just be very careful.
Yeah, tax attorney, tax accountant, somebody that's professional in that world, get with them. So then we got 2 minutes left. So the issue becomes if a seller has less equity home, we talked about that, tax liability. What do they have to do about all that? Ooh. And then the other one with estate taxes. Oh my, big time. I'm selling a house right now that's an estate sale. And of course, that was the first thing at the listing. I said to all the family members, everybody involved, let me see your who's in charge, power of attorneys, this, that, whatever. Have you guys got a tax attorney involved? What's going to happen with all that? Do you have all that worked out? And of course, they said they did. So, okay, I want to make sure.
Do you know what the estate tax is? How much? Or
it varies. I think it varies a little bit on state taxes, but 15 is about an average, I've heard.
Yeah.
You better have savings or other means to bridge the gaps and all that stuff if you do have to owe or something. And sometimes it can always be all exempt or some of it's partial. It's all over the map. I've heard it all. And then you have, Terry, my favorite is we have a minute and a half. Then you have those people who buy a house, fix it up, and flip that property to make a profit. What do you do about the gains on that one?
Well, you can do a 1031 like-kind exchange.
There we go.
The key word there is a
like-kind exchange. We love that word.
If you sell a house, they're going to look for you to buy a rental house, okay? If you sell an office building, they're going to probably want you to buy something in the commercial market, but they want it to be a like-kind exchange.
And what that means is, and it's the other word for it's the striker rules and laws, right? This is for investors and those who do this. You have, I think it's IRS rules and listed exchange, 180 days, Terry, to identify a property and settle and all that good stuff like that. And so obviously this strategy is amazing if somebody is looking to defer capital gains taxes and all that down the road, right?
Yes.
So there's lots of rules. Tax attorneys, again, make sure you talk to them and they will help you out. But we do help investors with that. I'll point you in the right direction. And it's really, really important because it could be catastrophic if you don't. So, all right. Hope you didn't have a Clark Griswold moment. Taxes and estate taxes is like opening up that turkey with Clark Griswold. You never know what you're going to get. It may burst open and give you something you don't want. So make sure you do your due diligence. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you each and every Saturday right here on Your Frederick Real Estate Update, WFMD. Take care now. Thanks, guys. Good seeing y'all.